everybody, and welcome to GenFriends. I am so glad to be here tonight to talk to my wonderful panel that I have. Tonight we're going to talk about genealogy conferences. Last time we met, we talked about virtual learning. Well, tonight we're going to talk about being there in person and some tips and tricks and some things that are out there that you may know about and you may not know about. But first, let me welcome my wonderful panel that have joined me here tonight. We have Bernice Bennett. Hello, Bernice. How are you? Oh, Bernice. Oh, there you go. I couldn't hear you there for a minute, and I thought, oh, no, we've lost audio again.
Oh, please, don't tell me that.
Don't tell me that. No, we can hear you loud and strong. Now, Bernice, are you still doing Blog Talk Radio, or did you decide to move it? You had talked about maybe moving it.
I have retired Blog Talk Radio.
You have retired Blog Talk Radio. All right.
8 years. You can go to the archive shows, but I am not doing Blog Talk Radio.
All righty. Do you have any new adventures getting ready to come up, or are you just going to focus on writing?
I'm thinking about other adventures.
Well, I'll tell you what, when you figure out what you want to do, you let us know and we'll feature it, okay?
Okay, great.
That sounds good. We have Terri O'Connell. Terri's back with us tonight, and you know, Terri is from Finding Our Ancestors. We're so glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here.
It's been a while.
I've been busy.
Everybody's been busy. And last but certainly not least, we have Melissa Barker, our archive lady. Hi, Melissa.
Hi, Cheri. Glad to be here.
I'm so glad everybody's here, and I guess I should introduce myself. I'm your host, Cheri Hudson Passey from Carolina Girl Genealogy. I get so excited to get started on the show that, you know, half the time I forget to introduce myself. Well, like I said, tonight we are going to talk about genealogy conferences. Now, Bernice and I spent last week at the Federation of Genealogical Societies Conference in Washington, D.C. And your Facebook or other social media may have just been flooded with photos about things that were going on there. One of the big things that I wanted to touch on really quick before we move on is the big announcement. The first day of the conference, it was announced that FGS, the Federation of Genealogical Societies, and NGS, the National Genealogical Society, were in the works to merge. So right now we just have a letter of intent that has been signed to merge the two together. And people had a lot of questions. Did y'all on the panel have any questions about that when you heard it? What did you think?
My thought was, yay, one less conference to worry about.
That's really true. One less conference. You know, there's no competing of conferences. Now, that doesn't mean that FGS is going away. It's not. FGS's mission from the beginning was to support genealogy societies. And that way, with this merge, NGS can focus on the genealogy learning, and FGS can continue focusing on societies and helping to build the genealogy societies all over the world. And so this coming together will be great because we can each focus on what we're good at. So it'll be a combination of the conferences, a combination of the two different groups of people that were dedicated to help. So I think it's going to be a really, really good thing. And that won't start, the next FGS conference is in Kansas City, so that's still a go. And that's at the beginning of September of next year. And the next NGS conference is in May, and that will be in Salt Lake City. So for next year, they're separated. But in 2021, they're going to be combined in Richmond, Virginia. So that will be the first of that. And as we get, you know, more information about, you know, what's going to happen. And the other question that I was asked immediately was what was going to happen to the forum, which is the magazine for the Federation of Genealogical Societies. And right now, that as they're in talks, it looks as if those articles that will be supporting and helping societies will be added to the NGS magazine. So there'll still be a section labeled FGS. FGS is still keeping all its branding, but it will just be added to a great magazine that's already out there. So those are the things that we know. Bernice, what do you know? Because Bernice Bernice was
Yes,
there too.
I know what you know, and that yes, the memorandum of intent was signed, and it gives us an opportunity to look at what that merger can become. And it does give us the opportunity to strengthen the entire genealogical community. But as you
Exactly.
said, we will have one meeting. And with that one meeting, we bring individuals that may not belong to societies, and it gives them the opportunity to be introduced to societies, as well as those people who are part of the societies that have never joined NGS. So I think it's a win-win on both sides. And when I heard about it, I said, I definitely support this. I think it's a wonderful idea. Why not bring us together? Because many of us are members of societies, but we are also individual members of the National Genealogical Society.
Exactly. Exactly. I think this is going to be nothing but good for the genealogical community. So it'll be interesting to see everybody working together and see what happens in 2021 in Virginia. I know I'm
Yes,
going.
Well, it's
it's
so
a
close.
opportunity. Yes.
Yeah, it's so close. I know and I don't have to think anymore. Okay, do I want to do FGS or do I want to do NGS? You know, who's closest, and that's what I'll go to.
Right.
So that really, really helps. I think it's going to help everybody. So let's talk a few minutes about conferences. Melissa, I know conferences are kind of hard for you when you have a full-time job. It's very, very difficult to get to a conference, but you were going to suggest, you know, I know we talked about virtual conferences and we want to talk about that live experience. So if you can't get to one of these national conferences because they're not in your area, you were going to talk about some local conferences.
You know, locally there are, but in conjunction with that, I would also encourage people to really get on social media. All of these conferences have a huge social media presence. And when I work full time and I work in an archive, I am the archivist at my archives. And so I get a little more leeway and I can get on the computer during the day and I can get on these social media. And there's some conferences that have, virtual presentations that they offer that you can pay for, or that some of them even offer some that are free. But the local thing is that, if you can't go to Washington, D.C. or Salt Lake City, look locally. And just because, let's say you live in an area where, my ancestors didn't live here, but there are still genealogical and historical societies, and there are things going on. And these could be talking about genealogy processes, not just a particular, like an area thing or a particular surname or something. Just look locally, see what's going on, see what kind of conferences. I know for me, I'm about an hour and a half due west of Nashville, which is where the Tennessee State Library and Archives is. And once a month, they have a seminar series that they do. And they bring in speakers. I've been fortunate to speak a couple of times up there. I'm going to be speaking actually in November. And so things like that, even your state archives has things like that. But you kind of have to look for them. They're not maybe as advertised as the conferences, the big conferences.
True.
But there is still a lot of learning and education in the local community level and at the state level that I think genealogists can get out on, and if they can't travel, or afford to go to those big conferences. But social media too, Twitter, Facebook, all these places, they actually have people that are just tasked with being on social media and sharing what's going on, and you can pick up a lot of great things that way too.
You really can. I know, especially for Twitter, I know people that is their note-taking process.
Yes.
That's how they take notes for the classes that they're in. Nah, I can't do that. I can't pay attention. And
Right, that's too much.
it's too much for me. And what is their hashtag for whoever's sitting next to me? I don't remember, or whoever's teaching, so it doesn't work for me. But I know there are a lot of people that use Twitter. And so you can, find out a lot about what a presenter is teaching by just following the hashtag for whatever conference is going on. So
Also, I'd like to mention, I know in our community, we have the local historical, the history centers. And the family history centers every year give a big conference and draw in a large number of participants. and these conferences are free. And
Exactly.
so if you have a family history center in your community, that's a place to begin with attending a conference. It does give you an opportunity to network, to see people. Although it's very interesting when you talk about social media, because while I was at the Federation, I had people walk up to me and say, "Oh, I feel like I know you because I see you, I see you here, or I see you there on Facebook." But yes, there are, as Melissa mentioned, and you also mentioned, you can attend local conferences. And it might kind of be where you want to start before you jump to a large national conference, to go to a local, see what happens, and then take it to the next level.
I think that's a good point.
You know, some people I think that have had mentioned to me, they say, well, I don't get to see locally. I mean, I get to see some of the big speakers, you know, like Bernice, you know, and Cheri that speak. But, you know, just this past weekend, the Middle Tennessee Genealogical Society had Mark Lowe for a whole day.
Right.
And it was free. So, you know, and he offers to do this. And so, and it was sponsored by the local history center there that paid for the whole thing. Wow. And, you know, so it is. And I mean, I've seen, you know, Judy Russell, I've seen all kinds of different top notch, and not to say that not everybody is. Everyone that teaches to me is top notch because they're getting out there and they're doing it. But these, the ones that we consider, you know, the ones that we want to hear, they come to these as well. And so, you know, just the thing is, you've got to get out there, become a member of a local historical or genealogical society or the local history group that is in your area. And you're going to get emails and flyers and things about their upcoming events.
True. And you know, another thing too, you can go in to a genealogical society or your local archives or historical society and say, let's put something together. You can be the one that can get something started. You know, call in, see if you can find some local people, call around and ask if you can get somebody to sponsor to get some of the more nationally known names. But you can do this yourself. If, you know, if you're finding there's nothing in your area, do something about it. Figure out a way to do it yourself.
Right. Plus you have the libraries. Those libraries have genealogical divisions or departments or a little space. That's a place for you to go in and say, well, let's do a genealogy conference right here. Or let's do a chit chat talk, whatever you want to call it, but let's talk genealogy. The library is there. It has the space. It has the books. Hey, invite people in.
Exactly.
One of the things that I do that I actually started almost 10 years ago is like kind of a give back to my genealogy community is I teach a class, a genealogy class once a month. And I've been doing it for 10 years and I do it for free at my local library, just like Bernice said. And, you know, I do this once a month and I teach a different topic every month. And I have people that come and they're doing their genealogy research. I speak and then we have refreshments and then they can go to the genealogy room and look up records. They can get on the computers and there's ancestry, you know, there's different things like that they can do. And so maybe that's something that you could get involved in. And so, and they're always trying to get me to do an all-nighter, you know, like they do at the National Archives.
I'd love to do that.
They want me to do a lock-in, and I'm thinking, you know, by 10 o'clock, I'll be curled up in the corner.
You've got to find somebody with high energy to do it with you.
Exactly. Yeah. Somebody that will keep you awake. Exactly.
Yeah, also think about the recreation centers and the fact that they offer fitness classes, they offer cooking classes. Why not have a genealogy class offered at your recreation center?
Yeah.
So think really broad. Think of where groups of people will normally congregate and go in and offer your expertise. If it's free, then do it free, but that'll get people into the door and you'll be talking about genealogical research.
No, Bernice, that is such a great idea. It reminds me, we have what we call senior centers here, and it's for the seniors. And so they asked me to do a genealogy class, and I did, and it was great. But what was hard was there was no computers.
Oh,
Oh.
And these people were not learning with computers. And I'm thinking, wow, I have to go back to the way I used to do it. And so I sat down with these ladies and gentlemen who came, and I taught them without computers. But I had a ball
oh, I'll
doing it,
bet.
because these, we always try to think about getting the younger people involved. But you know what? There are still some of our elderly that are ready. They want to dig in too. And so I did that for 2 years, and I absolutely loved it.
That sounds like so much fun. Now, Terri, you have another option. What's in it? Even though this is something I want to really do. This is on my list. I would love to do this. Now, what are you going to recommend?
Genealogy cruising.
Cruising, guys.
We're loving it. We're having a great time.
A cruise where you learn genealogy. Hello.
We just got back, so we got back days before FGS, really. And we had a great time. I think there were 36 of us total. And we went from Montreal down to Boston, had great time in each of the ports. Some people went into the archives in the ports. Some people went to their ancestral homes in the ports. At the C Day, we had learning all day. Every night after dinner, there was one session. So your days were all free to be out and about in all of these ports. But then we'd come back, have dinner, get together and talk genealogy, and then everybody dispersed to do whatever they wanted on the boat. I think this was probably my favorite so far. We've had such a great time.
Oh, I love that, because you can go somewhere, whether, and some of these cruises are to places where you may have ancestors and some not. Some are just like your normal, typical, Caribbean cruise.
Right.
But when you're at sea, you're hearing from genealogy speakers,
Right. And on this one, we had great speakers. So we had Gina Ortega, Tammy Mize, Daniel Horowitz from MyHeritage, and then David Lambert from NEHGS.
How cool is that?
We had a good bunch of people in there teaching, and it was really, it was a good day. It was a good week, but the full day of learning was good. It was fun. I recommend it. Our next one is not until next August, where we're going to Alaska.
Wow.
And I just want to share information on the next two we have coming, because it's important for people to know. So all these cruises are being done through Gina Philibert Ortega.
Mm-hmm.
Our next one, like I said, is August 23rd of 2020, and that's going to Alaska. On that one, we will have Cindy Engel of Cindy's List. Okay. February 6th of 2021, we're going from Los Angeles to Cabo San Lucas. That one is going to be a DNA-focused cruise. Ooh. And on board that one, we will have Shannon Combs Bennett.
Oh, wow. That sounds wonderful.
Those are the only two we have coming up, but we have some other things in the works that we're going to pepper in throughout the year.
That sounds fabulous. That sounds fabulous. And like last time we talked about this, we showed Conference Keeper, and the same with this. We Conference Keeper, and then the virtual. It also lists all these conferences. So you think of conferences, you think of FGS, you think of NGS, you think of Roots Tech. Roots Tech is going to London, so that's another one. There's the Genealogy Show that's in England. MyHeritage is now having one. Where is it being held this year? I don't remember.
Amsterdam, I think.
Amsterdam. Okay, so they're kind of moving around Europe as well. So there are opportunities to go overseas, to go to these conferences, learn, and do some research on your ancestors.
And to top it all off, you don't even have to. I mean, we want you to come on these cruises. But if you have a group of people who are researching like the same area, the same country, and you want to do something, reach out, because I'm willing to help you make that happen.
Oh, that would be fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
That would be a lot of fun.
The whole cultural trips that people take. Now, I've participated in a trip to Cote d'Ivoire, and that's with the group called Roots to Glory. And they're going to Ghana, Senegal, Nigeria. And so you have a large number of African Americans that are really into learning more about their roots. And that's something that's so exciting. So my next trip, because I've done Cote d'Ivoire, I'm now going to go to Senegal.
Oh, wow.
And because I want to learn. I mean, my ancestors came from Africa, and I want to learn about the ancestral home.
Oh,
And
that's
so it
wonderful.
opens the door for people. And while you're doing your genealogy, you have to say, well, let me understand what was going on
Absolutely.
before I was here, you know.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And so
Exactly.
that's also an opportunity for people to look into cultural tourism and learning about where they came from.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. Well, we've talked about some of the different conferences, and like we said, there's regional conferences. Go on to Conference Keeper and look and see what is on there. And like Melissa said, check your local areas, see what's going on locally. And like, if there's nothing, start something. You can do it. Why do you think what is it about these conferences that keeps drawing us back? To me, it's not just the learning, but it's that networking, that family reunion kind of feeling that you get as you connect with the people that you're seeing on social media. What I saw was that little tiny picture, and now I see you, and you really make friends because you've got that connection. There's not that eye rolling. There's not that, are we talking about genealogy again? So I think part of the reason to go is to have some of that connection with people. Do you guys feel that too when you go?
I think the hardest thing, like sitting home these past few years at conferences, I hate conference season because all my friends are together and I'm at home alone.
We hate that you're home alone. We want you
I'm,
with us.
I'm like
Melissa, you
scrolling
too.
everybody's feeds, everybody's Twitters, like who's doing what? Where are you? I hate it. So yes, it is that family community feeling of coming together. I mean, think about it. I don't think I've met Bernice. I know I haven't met Melissa in person, but Cheri, we met years ago at Roots
Sure.
Tech.
Mm-hmm.
Gina, I met originally at a
Mm-hmm.
conference. David was at a conference.
Yes.
Daniel, I've probably seen him at a conference. I've never talked to him until we cruised. But a lot of these people, that's how you meet and make these friends and follow these friendships.
Exactly. And it's not just, you get to meet the big name speakers, but you can be sitting in a class and turn around and start talking to the person sitting next to you, and you either discover they're related to you somehow or they're doing research in the same area. I know at Roots Tech we did that families around you, relatives around me little app from the family search app. And there was two people sitting at my table that, yes, they're distantly related, but they still were related. One was my roommate. I mean, how bizarre is
That
that?
is funny. That's great.
So you just never know. That genealogy serendipity, comes into play. And then you've got somebody maybe to go to lunch with, if you start talking. You're never alone at a genealogy conference.
Never. Just
Never
walk through the
alone.
vendor hall.
Walk through the vendor hall.
Something really, really interesting that happened at one of my sessions. I did a session called Connecting with the Living. And my maiden name is Alexander. There were 6 people in the room with the maiden name Alex. We were all like, what? Alexander, where are you Alexander's from?
Wow.
Alexander's originated in Virginia. But I didn't know these people. I know them now.
No. That's fabulous. That's fabulous. So
One thing I like about getting to go to the genealogist, whether it's at a conference, at a local meeting, at any time, is the fact that you're talking with people that are like-minded and that they understand what you're going through, no matter what you're going through. Because genealogy is kind of a solitude hobby or profession for some of us, and and we don't have that interaction with people because we're talking with dead people all the time, and so getting to talk with other even if they're not related, even if they're not researching the same names with you, you talk about techniques, you talk about about this repository, or I found this here, or maybe you should check here, bouncing ideas off each other. I get really excited when like I do my genealogy class, or I go to my historical society meeting. I go to a local history. There's places around here that do like day trips where they take a day and they go to a historical place, and it's things like that. To me, just getting together with the people and talking about the like things that we have in common is just, I love it.
It's really great.
It's like GenFriends. I love doing this.
We get to talk to each other.
Right.
Exactly. Now, I think it was Terri, somebody mentioned the vendor hall.
Mhm.
A vendor hall or the expo hall, whatever that conference chooses to call it, is a wonderful place to visit because your vendors, your people selling genealogy products, whether it's Family Search, Ancestry, Find My Past, My Heritage, you've got genealogy books, you've got jewelry. I bought a nice little necklace that says I unlock the past.
Oh, cute.
There's, there are, NGS had a booth, FGS had a booth, a whole, a whole bunch of people. Diane Southard had a booth for her genealogy business. I'm trying to think who else was there. Lots and lots and lots of people.
Historical Society.
Yes, Historical Society.
Talking to them and looking at those big maps that they had and talking about territory. I enjoyed talking to them.
Exactly. There's so many people that you can go and talk to. Some of them give away door prizes, so you need to make sure you write your little name. A tip is to get some stickers. Get some stickers printed up with your name, your address, your phone number put on them. So if somebody's having a drawing, instead of writing and writing and writing and writing, you can just pull up those stickers and put them on and enter those door prizes. And a lot of the vendors have little ribbons. I know you've probably seen photos that people have these long trail of ribbons, and it's just fun. It's just for fun. And really, I'll have a lot of them, people will hand them to me because it's advertisement. If I'm walking around with all these ribbons, people stop me and say, oh, what is that? And what is that? So it's good advertisement, but it's just fun to collect those ribbons for the different groups you may belong to or different products. So that's a lot of fun too. So if you've ever had a question as to what on earth are those long trail of ribbon things that people have on their badges, that's what they are. It's just a lot of fun. And then you see people down in the vendor hall too that maybe you haven't seen, since you've been at the conference, and you run into each other down there. So the vendor hall, always make sure when you're planning on going to a conference, you take some time. Really, lunchtime is really good because everybody's off to lunch and there's not a lot of people. But make sure you plan a time to go down there. I thought we'd talk too about a few tips about going to conferences. Now, whether you've never been to a conference before, you've been to you've been going to them for 10, 15, whatever years, there's still some things we learn from each conference. I need to get better. For me, I need to get better at really looking at my syllabus and seeing what classes are being taught and making my schedule before I go, because I'm sitting there going, okay, now what did I want to go to? And then I'm looking, and then it's harder to do when you're at the conference. But I must say, you can have your whole plan and then hear about a speaker you didn't know about and think to yourself, I'm going to go listen to them, and then there goes your whole plan. But try to plan your day. You usually will get that syllabus and a schedule ahead of time. Anybody else got some good tips?
Plan a backup of 2 or 3 different ones for each hour.
Because sometimes they'll be full. You never know. Sometimes you can go when it's full and you need a backup plan. That's right.
Right. Well, I would recommend, if the conference you're attending has an app, to download the app. And with that app, you can then look at the schedule and then put the time where you're going, and it's there for you. So, definitely download the app, and then again, go over the schedule, look at the syllabus, look at what you want to attend. By the way, sometimes you'll have something that's in the syllabus and you get to the actual workshop or the actual talk, and you'll find that they're giving more. Mm-hmm. You just a basic outline of what to expect in that session. Don't think you have everything, because you don't. Exactly. And always this opportunity when you go to a session to have discussion and to ask questions, of which you cannot do with the syllabus, but you can do face to face. So I would definitely recommend that people look at the syllabus, look at the outline, but then definitely decide they're going to go, and go with some questions if you have questions.
Exactly.
Questions.
Yes.
They don't want you just to sit there and fall asleep. class.
Exactly. Well, I really appreciated the FGS app that we got to use because it had a reminder. So I set it to remind me what my next class was. So I didn't, and it would just pop up as a notification on my phone. So I didn't have to keep going back into the app trying to figure out what's today? I don't remember. And then figuring out what my next class was. It would just pop up and I knew where I was going next with the name of the room on it that I could click on the map if I couldn't find it. But I'll tell you, by 4 o'clock on Saturday, I knew where every one of those rooms were. By the end of the week, that last class, you have figured it out, haven't you?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. This is a simple tip, but dress comfortably, wear decent shoes,
Yes.
stay hydrated, eat.
Eat. Yeah, this is not the time to wear your stilettos. Now, if you're teaching and and standing behind the podium, put those shoes on, but then change them and walk around. Change. And always bring a sweater because we got cold.
Oh, yes.
The first couple of days it was kind of hot, and I think we'd all complained. And so by Saturday, we were freezing. It was so cold in there that the people that didn't bring anything I sat by somebody whose teeth were chattering.
Oh my gosh,
they were so cold. So dress in layers. Make sure, even if it's in the middle of the summer and it's going to be 95 with a heat advisory of 102, you just never know what the air conditioning is going to do. Melissa, I think you were going to say something a minute ago.
I was just going to suggest to maybe pick one, maybe two, but it's at least one class to go to that is maybe a little bit out of your comfort zone or something that you're not that well versed in. I did this when I went to the Society of a Tennessee Archivists conference, and there was a talk about quilts, not just about preserving them, but about the history of them and things. And I thought, well, I have a couple of quilts my mother made, but I'm not really into quilts. But that was one of the best talks that I had been to the whole conference, believe it or not. And I've seen other people like Peggy Lauritsen talks about, they go into these classes that it's not something that they would normally pick.
Right.
But you can learn. You can learn something and you might be really, really surprised.
Exactly. I once heard her say, Peggy, as you mentioned her, she once said that she went to a conference and on one of the days, she just sat in the same room.
Yeah, I remember reading that.
Yeah, she had no idea what was going to be taught, but she said she learned so much, and she learned from the presenters and different people's styles, people that she hadn't ever seen, present before. So I thought that was really good. I learned about 2 new things this time that I hadn't learned about, and one was pirates. Hey. Dan Earl's Pirate. It was really funny, and it was very educational. I had never thought, and I don't know that I'm connected to any of the pirates that came into Murrells Inlet, South Carolina, but we do have, pirates. And I went to Angela Walton Raji's on the 5 Civilized Tribes. It was the last session of the last day, and I thought, I don't have to run the booth. I actually get to go to something. And so I chose that because I had never heard her talk about it before, and it was wonderful.
I had heard that before. I've heard her give that, and it's fabulous. It's fabulous.
Do something that has nothing to do with your ancestry, that has nothing to do with anything that you're researching, and you will be amazed what you'll come away learning. I enjoyed everything that I went to, and I'm upset that I never made it to one of Bernice's classes. It was either the run time or I was in the booth, and so because I was helping out at one of the booths. So, I'll get to one of them because you are a fabulous presenter. So I felt bad. And sometimes you can look at your list and there's like 4 or 5 that you really want to go to, and you just have to, and you know what the choice sometimes breaks down to? If there's 4 or 5, which one is the closest to where I am now?
Yeah.
Especially when you are in a huge facility and you're tired and you've been walking around all day. And remember that you're going to get tired. So pace yourself. You know what you can handle. Pace yourself. Don't stay out too late, all night talking to your genealogy friends. Remember, you're going to have to get up, in this case, at 8 o'clock or be up in time for 8 o'clock classes. So, and some people like Bernice traveled, that's her hometown. So she was going back and forth. She wasn't staying at the haunted hotel that we stayed in. So Anybody else think of any tips that have worked for you or would be especially good for somebody who's never gone to a conference before? One thing I thought of, and then if somebody else wants to jump in, is be patient with the people that have planned the conference.
Yeah.
They've worked very, very hard, and it's not an easy thing to do. And I think with all things, sometimes we can come across that this was a problem and this was a problem, and maybe we could have done it better, but you're not doing it.
Right. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. They work hard for a long, long time. This is not something that was just put together the week or even 6 months before this conference. So have a little patience. Things are going to go wrong. We had a big snafu that was nobody's fault at this conference, and they were doing something called vendor bucks. Really wonderful. You could get this little coupon and your registration materials and go down to the vendor hall, buy something, and get $10 back. All you had to do was get the vendor to stamp your vendor buck and go to the FGS booth, and they would give you $10 back. Pretty good deal, right? Pretty good deal. Somehow, some snafu, which just happened, the vendor bucks did not get put in the registration packages. So we had people very upset, but they took care of it. They had a list of people. You could go get your vendor bucks. So just be patient, be understanding that we're all human beings, and if the elevator gets stuck or it's too cold in the room, or you're tired of walking, or you didn't like the lunch because the chicken was dry. Conference chicken, what do you expect? Have patience with these people. They have done the best. They have worked hard. And, I think your conference experience is what you make of it. If you're going to have a negative attitude, you're going to have a bad time. But if you're going to go in with a positive attitude about what you want to learn, about people you want to meet and connections you want to make, you're going to have a really good time. And Terri, I think I spoke right over you. You were going to say something.
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember. But I will add to that. Something we've been saying the past couple of weeks in my house between me and my daughter is make this your best life, man. Mm-hmm. You got one.
Exactly.
Go and enjoy it.
Exactly. And don't complain because Roots Tac is in February in Salt Lake. And don't complain that this one is, at the beginning of the school year. It's hard. There's other things.
There's no dates that's going to fit everybody.
No, there are no dates that it's going to fit everybody, and it's hard to book a place. There's other conferences going on. We're not the only group having conferences. Right. There's other things going on. So have patience, have a good time, go to learn, keep snacks in your bag. Keep snacks in your bag.
But the main thing is get out there.
Yeah.
Whether it's locally, whether it's just down the street, or whether you have to get on a plane, or whether you have to get on a boat, Terri. Whatever it is, get out there. I have people ask me all the time, how did you learn to be a genealogist? How did you learn to do this? It's because I listened to stuff online. I read. I went to local stuff. I went to, like I said, got on a plane, went over here. I haven't been on a boat yet. But I get seasick, so I don't know.
There's medicine.
There's medicine for that.
But you have to get out there and do it, and there's a ton of us doing it, and a ton of us are willing to help you and guide you along the way. I know Terri is great about helping people with her cruises, and we would all be, if anyone has, needs help, reach out to somebody and ask them, say, hey, I want to do this. I know you do it. How do I do it?
Right. And say to somebody, if you get to a conference, hey, this is my very first conference.
Yes.
Right.
Help me out. What should I do? I'm having trouble with this. You're going to get help.
And if you're at a conference and somebody comes up to you and says, hey, this is my first conference, take them under your wing. Because I may be that one.
Exactly. The genealogy community is a very caring, loving, generous community. We had a part, also with conferences, they'll have, we had a day where we could go to the DAR library they scheduled. We could go to NARA. We could go to the Library of Congress. None of those places that I had been to before, and learned how to research there. So look for those kind of little field trips they may have. They also have special parties. There'll be luncheons that you can, they're extra. You'll have to pay for that luncheon, but you'll also get a wonderful speaker. And so take advantage of those. And there'll be parties, different kind of get-togethers. This year, FGS happened to have a Back to the 30s party, which was really fun.
That looked fun.
We were encouraged to wear, something from the 30s if we could find it. But the coolest thing was that they had gotten a swing band. They were teenagers from a local jazz band group.
Nice.
And we decided to pass the hat.
Lovely.
Collected over $400 for this jazz club of these teenagers. So the genealogy community is a very giving, loving community. So no matter who you're in the elevator with, who you're in the vendor hall with, or in a class with, or wandering the halls lost with, there's always going to be somebody around to help you have the best time that you could possibly have. So I encourage you to get out there, like Melissa said, see what's close to you. Start with that. And just, see what big national conference is coming up. Know that there'll be a lot of people there. Know that there'll be a lot of fun there and that you'll learn a lot. So I really encourage you to do that. Anybody got any last minute tips or tricks or anything you would like to say before we
Step outside.
Go ahead.
Step outside your comfort zone, meet somebody new, make a friend.
Absolutely.
I've made a lot of great lifelong friends just going to these conferences, Cheri, and it's well worth it.
Sure is.
I would also encourage people, which we haven't talked about this yet, so I know we're fixing to go.
Go ahead.
But look for scholarships, look for giveaways. How I got to go to my first Society of Tennessee Archivists conference was I got a scholarship I applied for because I was a new archivist, and I got a scholarship, and it would paid for everything for me to go.
Wow.
And so there are like Roots Tech, there's all kinds of people that are giving away. They don't maybe not pay for everything, but a help is a help. And so look for things like that.
Right. And another good place to look for this, especially with the national conferences, is again Conference Keeper. And like I said, we'll have the link. They have one of their pages to click on are contests and giveaways. So try them. I mean, I know we all give away, all of us going that were Roots Tech ambassadors, we had to give away a Roots Tech free pass. Now, it doesn't pay for your food, and it doesn't pay for your hotel, and it didn't pay for your airfare, but it paid for you to get into Roots Tech.
That's right. That's something.
Right. That was Roots Tech London. There'll be more giveaways as we get closer to Roots Tech in Salt Lake. So look for those. The institutes have scholarships. There are a lot of scholarships and freebies out there. Look for those and apply for them. And who knows, one day, maybe you'll be lucky enough to win one of those. So that's another good way to get to a conference. So look for people that want to have roommates. Don't think that you've got to, pay that hotel. Stay off site if you have to. You don't have to stay in the conference, although it's nice to be right there where everybody is. There are lots of hotels in the area. You can walk a block or two or maybe 3 or 4, get on a train, or if you're lucky enough to live at home, hop that train and go home for the night. But there are lots of different ways to budget. I brought a lot of my own food. When I got there, I walked across the street to the CVS and I got my food and I put it in the little refrigerator, so I wasn't having to go out all the time to eat. And when I did go out, I just buy soda, or drink. I just drink water. It doesn't mean you have to eat.
Right.
Still go and socialize, and there's a lot of different ways that you can cut costs and make it so that it's affordable, because nobody wants to break the bank when you're going to these conferences. But I would encourage you to try one and see how you like it. And what would be great is if you haven't been to one before and you decide to go to a conference, whether it's local or a national one, if you'll drop us a little note and tell us what you went to and what your experience was, that would be great. We would love to hear from you about that. So we hope we've encouraged you to try these national conferences, get to go hug people like Bernice and Terri and Melissa. We're going to find you.
I'm going to get there someday.
We're going to get you to a conference. And don't be afraid to go up and talk to people. Don't be afraid to go up and talk to the speakers. They're just people. And most of them are more than willing to have you come up and and speak to them and introduce yourself. And so don't be afraid to talk to everybody. Talk to everybody at a conference and see what you can
Bring your books and get them signed.
bring your books and get them signed.
Don't forget that photo opportunity.
Yes.
Photo opportunities. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's just so much fun. Just a fun, educational, heartwarming, and then you want to go home, but then you don't, because you know it's going to be a while before you're going to see everybody again, no matter how exhausted you are. So with that note, I would like to thank my wonderful panel for joining me tonight to talk about conferences. And I would like to thank you for watching. We are so grateful. And if you haven't already, if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you click on the little notification bell, you'll always know and you won't miss an episode of GenFriends. And tell your friends. We would appreciate that. Make sure you leave any comments that you want to leave either on the blog post. All the links will be on the blog post. And you can leave comments as well on the YouTube page. So anyway, thank you so much. We appreciate you being here, and we will see you next time for GenFriends. Bye, everybody.
Bye.